What would you guys put on the Quebec Anglo flag?
The cynic and discouraged Anglo in me says the highway sign reading 401.
Oh, nice. The flag should be the fleur-de-lis, just half the size.
This is the Big Five on the Elias Macco Show, brought to you by investment advisor Richard Lapointe of CIBC Wood Gundy. Richard Lapointe can always be reached at 847-6324.
Snowmageddon, we're on Storm Watch here on CJAD 800, and I do want to just point something out. Don't normally do this. Trudie can vouch for me because she's on this program all the time. I don't normally just promote my Twitter account, right? I rarely do that, right? So, on my Twitter, you got to go to my Twitter this morning, which is @EliasMackos, because I did a tweet 1 hour ago. I didn't know it would go viral, but it has gone viral because I walk to work, and I walk up the little side street, and I get to René Lévesque. René Lévesque, busy street, right? Their cars are on René Lévesque. People are walking on René Lévesque. You got, apparently, bicyclists on René Lévesque. So I'm walking on René Lévesque. I'm walking through the snow. My heart rate is up. I'm looking at my Apple Watch, and I'm up to 130 beats per minute because you're walking through pretty deep snow, and you got to sort of run to get through it. And so the sidewalks are a mess. I'm looking at the roads, and the cars are going through a pretty deep amount of snow. It clearly hasn't been plowed in a while. And all of a sudden, I see a city truck turn onto René Lévesque and start to plow the bicycle lane. The bike lane is being plowed. So I posted a video. I said, this is fantastic. He just passed by me. I'm going to walk to work now behind this plow who's clearing a path for me. And I posted a little short video, and it is getting a lot of reaction in our biggest storm of the year to have the bike lanes in perfect working order. Let's get to the Big Five and meet who's on the Big Five this morning. Trudie Mason, I already mentioned you. Hi, Trudie.
Morning.
Morning to you. And the one, the only, the host of Mornings Rock on CHOM. It's Terry DiMonte. Hi, Terry.
Good morning, Elias.
Drive was okay, you guys? You did okay coming in at your hour?
I left my house at 4 a.m. and
nobody's on the roads.
When you're leaving at 4 a.m., you're toute seule. So that's the favorite. That's my favorite mode of transport when the roads are just mine.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me. But as Trudie and I pointed out on my morning program this morning, at around 7:45, the snow really intensified and the wind picked up. Minus 15 wind chill and a 60-kilometer-an-hour wind.
Yeah.
Nice morning for a bike ride.
Uh-huh. And let me tell you, if you're walking or riding into the wind, pretty terrible walk for you. If you're with the wind, though, decent. Let's get to the topics. We'll keep you up to date on Storm Watch throughout the program. But first off, has the EMSB made the right call in renouncing federal help? Of course, there's that court challenge program that we told you about yesterday. EMSB applied for some funds so they could challenge Bill 21, so that they can challenge the closure of some English schools. And, big brouhaha, right? CAQ government saying, how dare you, federal government, give them money? Of course, it comes from an independent program. But the Bloc Québécois, how dare you interfere in Québécois affairs by giving the EMSB money? And now the EMSB is saying, hey, let's stop making this into a big thing. We're not going to take the funds. If you're a school board and you've got to do things like buy books for students and make sure the classrooms are clean and pay the teachers, you got a big budget, why would you say no to this federal money? Because they're going to continue these court challenges, by the way. That's not stopping. So they're going to continue the court challenges. And now they're going to use the money from their own funds when they had access to free money. This, to me, sounds dumb and outrageous. What say you?
This was, in my view, the wrong decision by the EMSB. And surprise, surprise, it came from their lawyers. And of course, lawyers are going to recommend that you take the path of least resistance, that you don't ruffle any feathers, that you don't, in dealing with the provincial government. And I'm thinking to myself, honestly, EMSB, could your relationship with the Legault government get worse? I think not. I don't think it could get any worse. It's taken your schools away. It is banishing you. It is abolishing you. Do you think things could get even worse because you take federal money? No, they cannot get any worse. Take the federal money. Don't use your surplus for this. That surplus should be going into the schools that need all kinds of help. Let me count the ways that those schools could need help out of that surplus. Take the federal money because it's not going to affect your relationship with the CAQ. It's not going to hurt it any further than it's already been damaged. I'm actually quite angry that the EMSB, in my view, wimped out on this question.
Wimped.
Take the federal funding that you're offered.
Yeah, this is. I'm trying to find the right words to be careful because they're cowering. They're cowering from the politics of it all. There's a nationalist government in Quebec City, and if they have their way, they are quietly, not even so quietly, I don't think anymore, going about the business of closing down English schools and making it harder for English kids to get an education. It's part of the undercurrent of the separatists that are in the government currently presiding over the province. And I'm with Trudie on this. It stinks of politics. It stinks of cowardice. And why you would walk away from that amount of money on the table for fear of what, as Trudie points out? What, are you going to make Monsieur Legault mad?
Yeah.
They're
passing a bill. Bill 40 is to get rid of the school boards. What are you losing here?
And it's all part of a long, slow pitch to do more damage to English education in the province, because there's a lot of separatists that were quiet during the election and are now showing their true colors.
Trudie, you brought up the lawyers' decision by lawyers. Even that to me doesn't make any sense. I feel like there's got to be something going on. We've reached out to Marlene Jennings, by the way. We do want to talk to Marlene about this as the trustee of the board, but it does not make sense. The money has been offered. That's a done deal. They already applied. The damage was done there. If there was damage to be done, it was applying in the first place. Now it's done. Take the money.
But one of the provisions of the trusteeship is the EMSB would retain the board, the elected board would retain control over these court challenges. So I don't think Marlene had anything to do with this. I think this was all about Angela Mancini. I think it was another bonehead decision by her and the council. I think that they're wimping out when there's no upside. You are changing nothing.
Don't you think someone threatened somebody? I smell a rat.
With what? But what were they threatened with?
I don't know. But somebody got to somebody. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but you announce that you're going to take the money, and then you announce you're not going to take the money. So for sure, someone phoned someone, said something, but for that alleged something.
Where's the leverage? I mean, I get what you're saying, Terry, but I don't see where the leverage comes.
Maybe you should look at the law firm that gave them the advice and find out how much provincial work they get. It stinks.
There you go. Well, now
that's what I think.
It stinks from top to bottom.
Yes.
And there is absolutely no benefit to the board. In making this decision. It will improve nothing. It will not soften up the Legault government. The Legault government is not going to take back the abolition of your board. The Legault government is not going to give you your schools back. You gain nothing from this. Why would you do it? Anglos are constantly fighting this rearguard action to hang on to the community's assets. And here you are, kissing the butt of a government that doesn't give a damn about us?
And they wimped out on the snowstorm. All the schools are closed. Unbelievable.
The stories the office is buzzing about. The Big Five on the Elias Macco Show.
All right, you're up to date on the storm. Let's keep things running here on the Big Five. Trudie Mason, Terry DiMonte are in studio with me this morning. Guys, let's talk about environmental hypocrisy.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. So let's go to Japan. And if you go to Japan, they got the Olympics coming July. And they say they're going to pull off the most sustainable, greenest Olympics ever. You're going to go to Japan. You're going to enjoy the Olympics. You got to fly to Japan, but let's not forget about that. You're going to go to the Olympics, and you won't see any plastic in the way, and it's going to be carbon neutral, and there's going to be solar panels. Everyone's going to be happy. This is the same country now that has plans to build 22 coal power plants over the next 5 years in 17 areas of the country. They're retiring a lot of older coal power plants, and they're just going to replace them with new ones. Japan, after China, is the country in the world that invests the most money in coal in other countries. Japan also invests a whole bunch in coal in developing nations as well. I guess the question I have here, if you got to look at a sort of a paradigm for a country that we look at is like, oh, this is a country that knows what they're doing. They run things, they got technology, blah, blah, blah. And this is how they're handling the quote-unquote climate crisis. Are we all doomed?
Well, you have to remember, they also had the Fukushima nuclear disaster, which soured the entire country on nuclear power for good reason. And that was a real mainstay of the Japanese economy. I was reading that the medals at the Tokyo Summer Games are going to be made of recycled metals.
Yes,
from electronics. And people in Japan are donating all their old electronics to that. Oh, okay. I think these are the questions that developing nations are facing. They don't want to trash their economies. They want to keep going. And right now, although they say it'll be very soon that it will be actually more cost effective for Japan to invest in wind and solar power than coal, right now, to keep themselves afloat, coal seems like a good idea. And I think that that's exactly the same argumentation that is being used for Canada to develop the oil sands. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's profitable to do that. It may not be in 10 years, but right now it is, and it's justification. I don't know if we can point any fingers, really.
People in glass houses cannot throw stones, right?
Yeah, and this is the biggest questions that most either developing countries or Western countries with strong economies have to answer, because do you risk putting the economy at risk and putting people out of work, or having people be extravagantly punished through higher prices for things in answering the question about the environment? And to Trudie's point, it was the first thing I thought of when I saw this story this morning was, nuclear power bit them in the ass. Mm-hmm. And
which is the actual solution. That's the thing. It's
well,
the actual solution.
I think the same thing. I agree with you, Elias. I think nuclear power, there was a lot of mistakes made at Fukushima, and they paid a horrible price for it. But I don't think coal power plants are the answer. And it makes me think, we spend a lot of our time talking about how we can make things better in the environment here, even locally, with a mayor who spends more time on the environment than running the city. Yeah. And while we're doing that and feeling good about ourselves, other countries are doing this.
And let's bring it back to home, because there's a bit of I don't know if you want to call it a revolt, but there's definitely some grumblings within the Liberal Party, because you have a whole bunch of Liberal MPs, and in the last campaign, they ran on a very green. They sort of tried to outgreen the Greens, right? That was part of their strategy. So you've got Liberal MPs that got elected on a green platform, and now you've got this massive Alberta oil sands mine, and a lot of people within the Conservative Party are urging the Prime Minister to say, hey, you've got to make sure this oil sands mine does not happen, because it would basically destroy all of our targets for net zero carbon by 2030, 2050, all that stuff. That's out the window if you do this. Of course, you've got to think about people in Alberta who need jobs. How do you think this is going to play out?
I think one of the mistakes the Liberals made is they tried to keep a foot in both camps, right? They tried to play. They tried to keep one foot over here in Alberta and one foot over here. I'm pro oil sands. I every time I speak about this, I get tons and tons of hate mail. I lived in it. But you said I'm pro oil sands. Like, I feel that the oil sands we're in a period where we're going to need them. But I'm not like rah rah. No. The oil sands will become extinct. There's going to come a time where we're going to stop using fossil fuels. I understand that, and I lived in Alberta, so I have an understanding. It isn't what the activists paint it out to be. It's not great, but it isn't as ugly as the activists paint it out to be. I've seen it with my own eyes. And like it or not, for the next, every single article I've read, and I read a lot, every single article I've read said at least for the next 40 or 50 years, eventually we'll be done with it, but for the next 40 or 50 years, we're going to need oil.
Yeah, people don't realize it turns on the lights around the world.
For all kinds of things. So while there is a demand for that, and we have that resource I think we should use it. You drive. I hadn't been to Fairview for a very long time. And I was at Fairview last night and drove by that long row of electric chargers with the Tesla logo. And I said to Jess, "That's where we're going. That's where we're headed. And one day I will get there too. I will buy a car when it's not an electric car when it's not.
Well, you in a Cybertruck. I see it right now.
Right. But in the meantime, if we want to be rational about it, there is going to be oil in all the economies around the world for at least the next, let's say, even 20 years or 25 years.
Yeah.
And we have that resource. And I think we should make use of it for all Canadians.
Trudie, you're Justin Trudeau. How do you handle the hot potato?
Yeah, because that internal caucus revolt where he has some of his own members saying, hey, wait a minute, we campaign green. What are we doing looking at this? I think that this is interesting because this is going to be the wave of the future. And I think even if the Tories had been in power, there might have been some eyebrows raised about this particular project because this oil sands, quote unquote, oil sands mine, it sounds very messy for the environment. The number of hectares of land that are going to be ruined. So
can I just say, you bring up something really amazing. Like you take a terrible world like the oil sands, and now you've added the word mine to it. Like, how do you make it any worse? Yeah.
True. You know what it's going to come down to? And I mean, you're indicating that maybe this is the fault of voters in Alberta because they didn't send any Liberals to Parliament to advocate for the interests of their economy. And I get that to a certain degree. And I do agree. It comes down to jobs. I'm not pro oil sands. I'm pro jobs in Alberta. So, and I think Albertans should get a fair shake. I'm pro pipeline, for example.
And I'm pro reality that we need this stuff for the next little while.
This is the thing.
But does it necessarily have to be this particular messy project? It's 7,000 construction jobs, not inconsiderable. That's a lot of jobs, but only 2,500 ongoing. There's got to be some other project in Alberta that the feds can encourage that would create that number of jobs. There's got to be something.
And let's point this out. It's going to create $70 billion worth of taxes and royalties to local, provincial, federal governments. If I'm the federal government, I say, listen, we're going to take every single penny from this, whatever the portion of theirs of the $70 billion, take every single penny, and it's going to go towards developing the green tech of the new future. Everyone wins, right? No?
That's because you trust them to actually put the money into viable green tech ventures.
You're going to have to spread money around, and there will be ones that go bust, and there are going to be ones that work.
This is the thing. For years and years and years, we've been, I know it's not the case anymore, but one of the things that Canada has been blessed with is an amazing amount. We've been enriched with resources and water, and a lot of that drove our economy for many, many years. And I understand it's a new world, and we have to think about wind, and we have to think about solar power, and I really believe we're going to get there, and I have more faith in mankind. I don't believe the planet is going to be done in 4 years or 10 minutes or whatever it is everybody's saying. But in the meantime, there's got to be a responsible way to use the resources that we have at hand in order to enrich the lives of Canadians from coast to coast to coast.
All right, guys, let's end on a lighter note, a happier note. And that is the joie de vivre that is Quebec. And you know what? It's true. It's real. Quebecers eat more desserts. We drink more wine than the rest of Canada. We're twice as likely to be concerned about wasting food as well. Half as worried about GMOs. We don't even worry as much. It's fantastic.
I was telling Trudie this morning I had gelato for dinner last night. So je suis Québécois. I'm all part of the joie de vivre.
But it does rub off on us Anglos, thankfully, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? I think that's I've said to Trudie this morning, Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, great cities, great restaurants, really have come up in the world, but bar none. I tell everybody that I know, all my friends across the country, you will never eat better than in this city of Montreal.
Madonna was forgetting Montreal when she said those comments.
In terms of food, we get it. In terms of wine, we get it. And I was saying to Trudie, How many times have you been to a restaurant like I always do, if I'm lucky enough to go to a restaurant every weekend and say, dessert? No, I'm quite full, but I'll have a look at the dessert menu just out of curiosity's
I just want to know what they're offering.
And then you end up saying, that looks good. Bring that with 3 forks. It's although we were saying this morning, Trudie, we're not guilty of the daily wine.
No, that is alien to my experience. But when you have an early wake up, I think that affects what you do in the evening. I think there is a more relaxed attitude towards indulgences here in Quebec. If you look at sex too, I think there are differences between Quebecers and other Canadians on in terms of sexual freedom and mores and. It's joie de vivre, the joy of living.
I absolutely love the note we're ending on. We got the dessert, we got the wine, and Trudie says, hey, we also got the sex. Love it. Trudie Mason, you drive safe home, right?
Yes, thank you.
You give us a call, right? You if there's anything that you see, you give us a call.
We'll call you, Elias.
Terry DiMonte, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Elias.
Keep rocking in the free world out there on CHOM.